Before we get started with today's podcast, we'd like to ask returning listeners to leave us a rating or review on your favorite podcast platform, iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And if you really enjoy it, share a link to this podcast with friends or family who would enjoy hearing our weekly discussions about basketball and basketball culture. Now, on to the show.
Jim, isn't it amazing when Michigan can keep this game to a 19-foot, 9-inch game inside that three-point line? It's all theirs. Nice move by Steve Fisher here.
Welcome to the 19-9 podcast. I'm Aaron Meyer, the host of today's show. Our guest today is Charlie Miller. Charlie was a McDonald's All-American. He was also selected as the Gatorade Player of the Year in Florida for outstanding athletic excellence, high standards in academic achievement, exemplary personal character, demonstrated beyond with competitive athletics. Charlie was highly recruited by numerous Division I colleges and accepted a full scholarship to Indiana University. At IU, under legendary coach Robert Montgomery Knight, Charlie played all 4 years and graduated with a Bachelor of Science degree in criminal studies. While in college, Charlie was chosen to represent the United States basketball at the Junior Olympics in Athens, Greece in the summer of 1995. We'll get to that. He also enjoyed a 6-year professional career playing across Europe and the United States. He's the founder and owner of Attack Basketball Academy, a year-round basketball program geared towards developing youth in the game of basketball and life. Charlie also travels as the head clinician with Breakthrough Basketball, an organization that's known as a leader in basketball camps, online resources, and products worldwide. Most importantly, he lives with his beautiful wife and business partner, Meredith, and his 4 children. And correct me if I get any of these wrong. Mekalyn, Cameryn, Olivia, and Aiden.
Yeah, Mekalyn. So all good.
Mekalyn.
Yeah, Mekalyn.
All right, man. Well, welcome to the podcast and the video here, man. How are you?
I'm well, man. I appreciate you. Thank you for having me on the podcast. I appreciate the introduction as well.
Yeah, I love a long introduction. You were kind enough to give me the long one. I love reading it off because you accomplish a lot in life, and we won't get to all of it, but we're gonna pick through some of that, and we want to start here. Tell us your basketball origin story. So how did you fall in love with the game? Obviously, you love the game since you're still working in it, but what got you into basketball?
What got me into basketball was really a default thing. It was I was a baseball player. I grew up in Miami, Florida, as you mentioned. I grew up in Miami, so basketball was not the popular sport. The popular sport was football, and I was very spoiled. I was spoiled. I lived literally about 7 minutes away, walking distance from University of Miami, and this is when University of Miami was in their heyday of football. They were since we're talking culture here, right?
That's like the U, right?
Yeah. Well, before they were called the U, right?
Okay.
We called them UM, and they were independent. So every year they went to the national championship game because it was like you play against Notre Dame, you play against Oklahoma, and they're there because they just dominated, right? Their seasons, and I was very fortunate to watch that. The campus was so wide open that you can literally go out there anytime you wanted to. And for me, that's what I thought my destiny was going to be in sports, playing football. But then baseball, I guess, pinched me, and I became just an avid fan of the sport and played it. And some history here, I played with Brian Griese. You may or may not remember that name, but he played at Michigan, quarterback, right? Yeah, Brian and I played Little League Baseball together. And I would see his dad all the time, Bob Griese. And, and just nothing against it. It was Mr. Griese to me. And I really didn't understand the history of what I was dealing with at that time. It was just pretty cool, right? But what ended up happening for basketball was literally, and a true story, all of my friends were about a year and a half older than me. And the coach, lied on the application as far as the team was concerned playing because they didn't want to play up, so they played down.
Right.
So the season got forfeited, and they had to play the last game. And I was like, "Hey man, you got to play." I'm like, "I don't want to play. I don't play basketball. I play baseball. I don't do this. You got to play." And I mean, literally, I was like the laughing stock, dude. I did not want to play. I don't know what happened. I really don't. About a year and a half later, I was 12. I was dunking the basketball. I can't explain it. It wasn't Vertimax. Wasn't this jump training systems.
Right.
I don't get it. I was
Yeah.
I was dunking, and I mean, when I say dunking, I was like doing like backwards dunk. I was like, I don't even know where it came from. So that's kind of my story, man. I'll be honest with you.
I love
like,
it.
Yeah, crazy.
That's amazing. I mean, that goes to some of the things that you can have that opportunity to play other sports growing up and still excel at whichever one you end up choosing, just because, it just sometimes being athletic or just participating, you'll find your way to what you're best at.
Well, you said that, right? So think about it. And now, if you take what I do now as a player development coach, so it's like all of those other sports builds on attributes that go way beyond football. You always got to be alert and aware until the whistle blows, right?
Yeah.
And baseball, yeah, you know, people, oh, it's boring. No, I mean, you got to be active and engaged and paying attention, right? And who knows? Because I mean, you're talking about that, and I didn't know I was going to play basketball in college. I mean, I think the landscape is a little different, Aaron. To say I knew this, especially growing up in the South and growing up in Miami, to say, oh, this is what I'm going to do, I think the sport chose me. Being real with you, man.
Yeah, no doubt.
You know.
Let me ask you this: what were the playgrounds like? Did you get any playground hoops in Miami there? Because I remember the first time I went to Florida, and during pickup ball they were playing 2-3 zone, and I about fell over because coming from Indiana, during pickup, we're not
Well,
playing.
you know what? You say that. My memories of playing. Some guys would play zone sometimes, but it's like, man, what are y'all doing? What are you playing zone for? But then also. There were chain nets, right? The nets were chained, or double rims, because we didn't have gyms. So I learned how to shoot outside, and I kid you not, it was like, and it wasn't really windy, but sometimes you shoot, your ball will go from being left-handed from left to right. So you start messing around, learning how different trajectories and arcs, so. But my gym was outside. Nothing against it. It was no rec centers. It wasn't anything other than you played on blacktop.
Yeah, you got to shoot. You got to shoot through the humidity down there. So let's take us to the recruiting. So you how did you end up at Indiana? Like, I mean, you obviously are going to must have had a bunch of offers. So, like, what stood out about Indiana, and what was the process like, and getting to Indiana?
So, to talk about high school in a sense, my high school coach was from Michigan, and that's who discovered me in a sense of when I was 12, 13. He said, "Man, you have a chance to play." Again, I didn't know what that meant, because he grew up watching Magic Johnson. He saw all these guys who, like the Steve Smiths, the tall guards, which was kind of a rarity,
Yeah.
Back then.
Yeah.
And he was telling me about all these names, and I was like, I have no idea who you're talking about. Yeah, Magic, because he played for the Lakers, right? But he was telling me all these things, so. It was him who instilled, I would say, a work ethic, because at 8th grade, he was picking me up at 5 a.m. He was taking me to the high school, and I would work out in the mornings by myself. So now I had access to a gym.
Yeah.
He wouldn't even rebound for me. I look back at it, it's like he didn't rebound for me. He was like, yeah, I got to go figure it out. Go shoot.
I like it.
So it was like that work ethic early in the morning, go figure it out. And I did that for several years. But it was him who had also, I call him the mouth of the South, man. He talked to everybody. He had no fear, and he was talking about, me and the things I could do. And all of a sudden, as a ninth grader, I started getting attention.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, my very first game as a ninth grader, I played varsity, and that was also a rarity. Aaron,
For sure.
in Florida, back then, if you went to high school as a ninth grader in the early '90s, it was because of a vocation or a magnet program.
Oh, I see. So
Okay.
you guys had like the junior high model more.
Right, yeah.
Yeah,
You had junior high.
Yeah.
And junior high literally just left high school, where it's like it was at both. Right.
Yep.
So I was able to go, funny story, I was able to go to high school because of a metals class. You know how you have wood shop?
Yeah, yeah. Heck yeah.
It was metal shop. It was
Yeah.
metals.
I love it.
So metals. So we petitioned and I was able to go to high school as a ninth grader. And I played. So my very first game, I had 30 points.
Wow. That's amazing.
Now, again, man, and now that it is, but guess what came with that?
Yeah.
Animosity.
For sure.
And jealousy. And I was just, these are the guys I always looked up to because they were always older.
Right.
Now, there's something else that was coming with that, right? And I
Yeah.
really didn't get
You're the
that.
competition now. Yeah.
Now it's like, because I'm the young one that, they got to pass the ball to or takes over, and they don't like it, right? But these are all the people I grew up in the neighborhood with. We end up working it all out.
That's good.
But yeah. So that's kind of how I became, I guess, someone who became a prospect. And
Yeah, before we get to that too. What was the McDonald's All-American? What was that experience like? Did you you're in the game and you get to travel, or?
So you know what? I didn't play the game,
Okay.
but I was selected.
Okay.
So they had like 20 players who play, and then like other players who didn't. So
On the list, yeah.
I played in I played in Magic Johnson's Round Ball Classic.
Oh, nice.
Okay. And
I remember watching those. Yeah.
Yeah, I played in that, and they were featured on ESPN.
Mm-hmm.
And I played in a game in Fort Wayne.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. What's the Coliseum in Fort Wayne?
Oh gosh, I don't know off the top of my head.
I know, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
anyway, I
yeah.
didn't know yourself, but anyway, and it was I decided to play in that game because you can only play in two.
Oh yeah, that's right. I remember that rule.
Rules.
Yeah.
Okay, so I bypassed the one that was in Florida to play in the game that Tim Knight, Coach Knight's son, would put together, and it was like Indiana All-Stars.
That's cool.
So, yeah. So I played with some guys who went to Butler, and it was actually Neil Reed, God bless him,
Yep.
and Andre Patterson. We all played together
Nice.
on the team.
Yeah. That's cool. That's cool, man.
Yeah.
So then you pick IU. Did you, when you first got to campus, then you get that kind of freshman experience all over again.
Mm-hmm.
You knew what it was like in high school. What was it like then coming in as a freshman at IU? Did you feel those same expectations again, like to walk out and get the 30 points, or what was that experience like getting onto campus?
Well,
and did you have a winter coat?
Yeah, you mentioned USA basketball. Well, here's what actually happened. I got to campus really in the summer before my freshman year, and I stayed for about 9 weeks. And here's what happened. I actually made another USA basketball team prior to going to Athens, Greece the next year.
Nice.
And what I elected to go to, I wanted to get to campus to get acquainted for workouts and to get used to being around, right? And so I didn't know if I had that in mind. It was more so, it was this new chapter, right? This new chapter and looking to get up in the summertime where nobody was around other than people who were going to summer school, which I had no idea about, right? That 6-week summer express sessions, I would call it, right?
Yeah.
And then it was nothing going on campus. The campus was just completely dry, right?
Yep.
So I got up there and then went home for like a week or two and came back. then that's when, it was hoopla, right? I
Oh
mean,
my
everything.
gosh.
Yeah.
We used to call it
Now,
we used to call it the movie premiere, my roommates and I, because you'd see all the people out. It
yeah.
looked like a movie premiere just watching.
Everyone's out, you got, and then you get used to it now. You go to the different apartment complexes and the whole block is blaring music. Everybody's doors open and just, you're walking from door to door, just whatever. Yeah, that was kind of my experience my freshman year.
That's great. Did you guys have to live in the dorms, or were you able to live in like off-campus apartments?
We lived in Reed Dormitory.
Oh my gosh. So they put
The
you there
first year.
too? Oh boy. That's
Yeah.
not one of the better ones.
Well, you tell me. I know football lived in Briscoe.
Yeah.
And the one right across the street from Assembly Hall.
What is it? Yeah.
McNutt
Yep.
and Briscoe.
Yep.
Right? Briscoe,
Yes.
I believe, is the one right across.
Yep.
So they lived there.
Okay.
And Coach Knight had us, we were in Reed. So, that was
Yeah, you're
not
kind of in the middle of campus
hop,
then.
skip, and a jump.
Yeah.
You had to bum rides. I didn't have a car. I guess, we lived with the band students.
That's what it is. Yeah. That's what it is. We came like the art dormitory. Like that's all those things.
So yes, we were. And
That's
then we were able to move out our freshman year, and we lived somewhere about a mall. It was like the mailbox, like the mail post office, and
Yeah,
the
okay.
apartment complex.
So you were way out
I
then too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
And
Where you're
then our junior year, man, we went way south. Man, we had a nice duplex and upstairs, downstairs. And we drew straws for the rooms.
Oh, man.
I got the biggest room, the double
Oh
sink.
my gosh. You were living large then.
Oh my goodness.
Who'd
man.
you
couldn't tell me
room
I had
with?
a walk-in closet. You couldn't tell me anything.
Who'd you room with?
So it was Andre Patterson and Neil Reed.
Nice. That's
Yeah,
cool.
and then Neil's future brother-in-law, Zach.
Okay.
He was dating Neil's brother, so we all lived together. So yeah, and Zach was the basically designated driver. I mean, from practice, early morning
Chauffeur.
practices to, yeah. Zach had to be there, and this is pre-cell phone.
Oh my
So,
gosh, I know. Yeah,
this is
you got to.
beeper days, if you
Yeah,
had a
beeper. Yes, perfect. I love it.
Yeah.
So I'm always curious about culture. So what was the culture like? Because it's a very interesting time, I think, for IU basketball, because you are kind of in this like era of tremendous success still, but there are maybe some like changes. It's kind of towards the end. I mean, 99 when I was telling you that I got to campus is the end of the era. So I'm just curious what the culture was like, and then the positive parts, what you guys did to build the best parts of the culture. Cause I'm always curious, like for basketball, how do you build that cohesiveness as a team or as a coach?
Well, I tell you what, great question. I came to campus at 17. I turned 18 as a freshman. Also, I came from Florida, so I have no idea what culture means in the sense of basketball, right? Mm-hmm. I learned, and there was a change of the guard, so to speak, as far as, Coach Knight now has 3 All-Americans that has all of these expectations, and that really has been entitled by fans and everybody else to be the next crop that's going to take him back to the top.
Right.
I don't know if I can't speak on. I didn't understand that.
Yeah.
I didn't. I did not. And people would talk about the expectations. I was like, I didn't grow up in the States, so I mean, no disrespect, I didn't have them.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't. And the comparisons to Calpacini and the comparisons to this and that. I mean, I didn't watch how you play.
Right.
That was not something I did.
Yeah.
Right.
Not weird.
And I was a typical player who had a choice to go anywhere to go play basketball. And I was always a fan of the sport, but I can't say I was watching every school that was recruiting me. But to me, I think that's what it came down to. And then I know we were like, and just talking about it, like, I think there was a home game winning streak of like 20 something games, and we lost against It's like a preseason game, So, no disappointment because that's just internally, coaches don't really think about that.
Right.
That's not really something that's on their minds. Like, oh my God, you guys gave up the home winning streak. I mean, it's something that you always want to cherish and be a part of, right? But it was really an acclamation, man. I say, I know for me, I came in as an athletic, gifted. I can shoot, I can do things, but I learned how to play. I learned how to play, I would say, my freshman year. I learned how to play. You had film study. It's something that I didn't have in high school. So there was a whole adaptation that was taking place. And there was a whole world of preparation that was taking place just for one game. You might spend 15 plus hours, walkthroughs, going over the same film, taking notes. We had to take notes. And I say had to. You did not want to just be there, just watching. You literally took notes, and that's all I knew, to prepare. You learn those processes. So, but lo and behold, you take it for what it's worth. We won 20 plus games a year.
Yep.
Went to the tournament every year. My senior year went second round. So, you look at it, I mean, that's 80 games in 4 years. That's pretty impressive.
No doubt.
To say the least. But now, when you have expectations to national championship and Sweet 16s, it's like, oh, my God, what do we do?
Right.
Oh, God, we didn't. But like, wait a minute, wait. It's like, hold on. There was a lot accomplished,
Yeah.
In 4 years that you don't realize.
No doubt about it. Like, I think that fan expectations have just, they can be, they're fun because they're what makes the atmosphere around the games exciting. But when they become divorced from like enjoyment, that's when I get upset, because I'm like, you can find so much enjoyment, like you said, out of a victory or getting to the tournament. I mean, there's so much. I wish so much that we could have seen this year's team in the tournament in Indiana. They're just, you have to set expectations at a point where you can have fun with the game still, and not have to just
which
be disappointed, continually disappointed, right?
Yeah, but that's the parody of, and the paradox of sports, right?
Yeah.
There's and I say this humbly speaking, as again, I'm more of a holistic approach coach.
Yeah.
But what ends up happening is the expectation turns into entitlement.
That's a pretty good way to put it.
And now
I
it's
like
no
that.
more about having hope and optimism. It's we expect.
Yeah.
We need to be here, and we're not. And this is what this coach did. And now you got comparisons coming in, man. It's like, I mean, and that's where you really get disappointed.
Yeah.
Because now it's not good enough, right? It's like, and I've been there in my life. I've been there before, even as a player. You start to turn from expectations to what I deserve.
That's a great way to put
And
it.
man, bro, and that's how people get.
Yeah.
We deserve better. Who are you? You a fan. You're not on the board of trustees.
Look at this
You're not
T-shirt
in the
I got, though.
locker room.
It's so
You're not-
nice.
man, come on, man. It's all good.
Yeah.
But that's what happens because you talk about it so much, you become that talk. Right? You become that talk, which is not, and this is just perspective, right?
Yeah.
And that's what ends up happening. And that's the same thing that happens to players. And I'm gonna go there. I guarantee you that's happening in that locker room right now.
Yeah.
Expectations turn to entitlement, what we deserve, and how we should have this and that. And been there, done that. I've been on both sides of on that success wheel. Been on both sides, and you build an eye for it.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like I say this. I'm in the ballpark. It might be the New York Yankee Stadium. I'm in the park.
Yeah.
On what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
And that's what happens on both sides, from fans and from players, and also the coaches, right? So, but when you look back on it, and I think when you have a chance to reflect, more so than review, man, I'm gonna tell you, I was so unconscious of all the things I did do, to be honest with you, that I did a podcast similar to this, and a guy was like 79th all-time leading scorer in Indiana. I'm like, what? Hold on, man. Wait, stop. Say it again. I did what?
Yeah,
I'm where?
you're like, whoa.
Huh? Come on, man. But again, if you ask me according to what I didn't do enough. I'm just being real. I didn't do enough. I didn't do this. I didn't do that. But it's like, wait a minute, man. Hold on. You did.
Yeah. Oh.
But that's where you did the best you could at the time with what you knew, right? And I think it's good to go here because this is a part of the positive outlook. This is what a lot of the players now that may not have had the opportunity to go play in a tournament, they're going to go through some things because of that. But there's going to be some bright spots that's come out of it as well to say, yeah, you may not have done that. It wasn't failures. Who knows what you got caught up into, but watch what happens to you because of the things you went through and adversity you have to overcome for life, because that's what transcends the sport. That's why we play the sport.
Yeah.
It's much bigger. It is. It's easy to say because even when you win, I've literally heard from players win national championships, win NBA championships. That's it.
Yeah. Pat Riley's famous, right? The disease of more, like that's if that's the end goal, you're never going to find it.
So we got to do this again. And we don't, now you start questioning yourself and we don't. So it's like, you got to be mindful. It's good to have it, but at the end of the day, I wonder how much coaches and players really value, because you're so in that more mentality. We need more. We got to get better. It's broke. And that ends up becoming something that ensues you. As a player, it consumes you, man.
And you're not kidding. I mean, you have to too take that moment to just enjoy being a part of something. Because I heard we talked to Jason Andreas. He played for that Michigan State team that won the title. He said on the plane ride home, Izzo was planning for the next year to try to figure out how to win it. And you think he hasn't been back, and it's just like just enjoy that moment.
And I'm telling you, that's where you have to find that line, because if you celebrate it too much, it's like, oh, you're not serious.
Right.
What do you mean? You just had a whole season and ups and downs and sicknesses and fights, and we just won.
Yeah.
And we're thinking about next year already.
Yeah.
Or take a week off.
The J.R. Smith line where you're walking around with a shirt off for a week. You got to be a little south of that.
He's been celebrating since preseason.
That's right.
But you gotta. There's a balance, man, and that's that balance that I feel I found in life.
Yeah.
Even when I'm now able to talk to young student athletes that want to be great, be mindful that comes with a responsibility. You gotta learn how to be well-rounded.
Yeah, I like that. That's a great point. Okay,
appreciate it.
Let's talk a little bit about coaching. Let's start with Coach Knight. What's a favorite story or takeaway from Coach Knight that you still use today?
Okay, so one famous takeaway, I would say, I got several. I'm trying to see where I want to go here. Because they're all good. They're all good stuff. All good stuff. He would say, I have forgotten more basketball than you guys would ever know.
Yes. That's so great. No doubt.
Right?
Yeah.
He would say that, right?
Yeah.
He would say, another one, because there's one I want to give you that pretty much is why I'm doing what I'm doing. What's another one? Oh, yeah. Interesting. He would give me a high school in Jasper.
It's just Jasper High School. Yep.
There's only one.
That's it.
Okay, give me a rivalry.
We got Du Bois, the Jeeps.
Okay, check it out. Du Bois, right? So say you're in practice there, and you made a mistake. You get ready for Du Bois.
Okay.
He might say something like, "Aaron, you know what? Du Bois is gonna kick your." And you're like, first of all, he's referencing a high school in your area.
Yeah, okay.
As you're getting ready for like Michigan State.
Right.
This ain't, he'll say, this ain't Killian, Charlie. Like Killian was a high school rival. This ain't, I'm like, huh?
Yeah.
What? Where'd you come? What? That's pretty impressive, man.
I like that.
Right? But the biggest one that planted a seed, man, I was working this basketball camp. And I don't know why he said this to me. He said, if you ever want to learn how to do something, Charlie, you got to learn how to teach it. And he just walked off. And I was like, okay.
Good. Yeah.
And I was like, man, I promise you, 11 years in as a player development, that is why I'm doing what I'm doing.
That's awesome, man.
You have to learn how to teach. He said that to me walking off. Whatever you want to do, if you want to do it well, you got to learn how to teach.
That's a mic drop moment. It is.
Bro, I'm telling you, when he said that to me, I didn't make sense at 20, 21. It didn't make sense until I was like about 30 something, to be real with you. I was puzzled. Like, what did he mean? And then things started coming my way about learning and then teaching. And then my thing now is when you do teach, you learn twice, because not only what you're saying, you get a chance to get more in depth on it. Right? Like we talked about earlier when the technical difficulties you had.
Right, yeah. No
Those
doubt
are
about it.
teachable moments, man.
Yeah. Well, we learn something each time and continue to make mistakes.
Something every time, man. And Coach Knight was a lifelong learner, and I think that's something that really rubbed off on me.
That's awesome.
You know, I can tout that. I learned, you know, he was a lifelong learner, man, and you know, a mad genius. And I say that because we had no plays.
Yeah.
No plays. And people are amazed. They think he was a disciplinarian, and you know, you had to go to A to B to C. Man, there was no plays.
Right.
It was no plays. And whenever he ran a play, we messed it up. Because we weren't used to a chalkboard.
Yeah. Yeah, you're used to that free flow.
You're in a game.
Yeah.
Like, what we don't, and again, you don't realize the value of that. Like, if the hours that you're watching film and you're watching how to play, not what to play.
Yeah.
You're watching how, the process part. And now here all of a sudden somebody's coming to you with a clipboard in the game, do this, and like, okay.
Yeah. Well, I'm used to just playing.
Screen. I'm a call screen. They say switch. I'm slipping the screen. I'm setting this down screen because this guy's over here. That's how we were thinking, and that's how we practiced. That's how we played. Right? It was simultaneous action. It was quick. It was consecutive action. So you know, that's why I say he was a mad genius, because it was more about how than a what. Go to A, go to B, go to C. Out of bounds play, same concept. It was how to play.
Yeah. I love that. I mean, we're big fans of the motion offense. We talk about it all the time, and it seems like that's the, you know, in the ideal world, that's the way you want to coach too, right? Is to get it as much as you can out to the players in practice or film sessions, and then when the game's going, be there to manage substitutions and, you know, get you know, pump people up, stuff like that. But to try to micromanage, it just seems almost too much in the moment because there's so many other pressures.
That's the evolution of the game, right? I mean, you know, the game now, because of the resources that are available. There's motion.
Yeah.
It's just more set, right?
Yeah.
It's the, you know, double bigs, forwards at the elbows for horns. You know, one's rolling, one's coming up. It's the handoff to really do what they call a fake motion, to really buy time, to really, you know, get the ball in your playmaker's hands, right? Like, you know, the rule we had was there was no ball screens.
Right.
Right. So if I pass the ball to you to my right, either you were UCLA cutting or you were down screening opposite, right? You know, and it was more rules based. And I think it's still there today. I mean, I hear it from coaches, you know, they allow their players to stay in space and play. Some coaches are scripted where, you know, you can be predictable. I think that also comes down to personnel, right?
Yeah.
You know, if you got a player that can score the ball inside, you kind of know that trying to get the ball inside, then all the actions they're doing around that, you know, they're not looking to score.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I tell people all the time, you want to be a good defender, just look at somebody's chest. If their chest is going to the sideline baseline, they have no intentions. They're just running the play.
That's great.
They're trying to get downhill. Okay, different story.
Yep. That's great. Well, that kind of gets us into attack a little bit. So I want you to tell us a little bit about that. And one of the things I'm curious to start out hearing is how you work on, so you're doing individual player development on some level. And I'm always curious, like, how you work to with players individually to develop their team games. Because what you're saying is so important to the moment is being able to play and make other people better. How do you do that if you're working on your individual skills?
Man, you just said it. I got to give you my mission and vision statement.
All right, good.
Okay?
Yep.
It's right there. It's this. It's to take and build strong individual skills that transfer, not translate, transfer to team and game concepts.
Love it.
Okay? Because the translate piece to me, being really big on words, is like if we're trying to translate English to Spanish, we're going to miss out on the essence of the communication.
Yes.
It's not going to be the same.
Yeah.
It's similar.
Yeah.
And in basketball, there's many ways to improve and get better. But for me, over time, in reflection, in review as a player, what did I miss out on? What did I miss out on? What was other areas I probably could have got better at? But whatever those might have been, it was understanding what I call now finding your top 20 skill set.
Okay.
So going off the 80-20 rule, right?
Yep.
So it's like, okay, you know the 80-20 rule. You got 5 pair of shoes. You probably wear one pair you got the 4 because you didn't want one pair to be at Foot Locker. You had to have it. You just look at it.
Yep.
But there's one, just tried and true, right?
Yep.
So for me, it's helping players identify their top skill sets. What is it? Yeah, but that's more of a process. It's not just, okay, you need to be, here it is. You're small. Do I need to be teaching you rebounding? Come on, man. That's like, why are we working on boxing out?
Right.
You're never going to be down there.
Yeah.
Now, I need to teach you how to understand long rebounds from a transition from defense to offense. But am I going to account for you? No. Right? So I need to teach you. I need to give you the teaching points, right, to understand that. But is that something we're going to focus on? Right? So, no. So for me, that's the approach. The approach is to really, I've really learned how to teach the game from an individual standpoint. And then again, with the team concepts, for me, team concepts just being, it's the play types. And play types, if you know anything about synergy.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
Okay,
we need a login for that because every time I hear about it, I'm like, I want in on synergy.
Well, yeah.
I know it's not cheap.
I know, right? So, but synergy is what, and that kind of helped me with my mission and vision statement as a coach.
Yeah, I bet.
Because there's 10 play types that's happening in all games. The one play type literally happened last night, and the way you said you lost.
Yes.
And it's called miscellaneous, right?
Yeah,
That's miscellaneous, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
half court bank shot.
Anything less than 4 or 5 seconds is miscellaneous.
Yeah.
Not counted. You can't practice that.
Right.
Right. Even though Jalen Suggs said we do those shots all the time, right? But that's something to lead practice with on a high note, right?
Right.
But let's take a couple play types, right? So let's take spot up shooting. Okay. Well, that's something that you want to work on because that's what you're watching film on. Let's take off ball cutting. You want to learn all the ways to cut, and it's not limitless,
right?
I mean, and not to just kind of go into coaching world, but there's like 8 cuts you need to know.
Yeah,
I don't care if you're in the 3rd grade, you to a pro, you need to know these things.
But to internalize them is different than like knowing them even, and I think that's what's so cool.
And emphasizing because again, this is the how part.
Yeah. Because sometimes that's the difference. Yeah. That's your translation to transfer, right?
So like when me introducing something, but then we emphasize how, and when, and the look, and the pattern, and the cues, to have you play an instinct and not thinking.
Yeah.
Because thinking is off the court. That's watching film.
Yeah.
That's practicing. That's going through the same thing. That's getting you to buy in. The best players in the world are boring. They're boring. we don't do 25,000 things. We do one thing 25,000 times.
Right.
And they find joy in it. It's like watching a movie and you end up finding joy in different pieces because, again, there's what I call a deep process practice going on. We're getting underneath the surface. The surface is what we all see. We were talking about the surface game early with the fans and what you can expect and deserve. The game within the game is what we're talking about. And that's what I've learned to teach, impart, share, with players. And, here we are 11 years in, travel the world, teaching the game, every aspect of it, producing content.
Yeah.
That's value added, man. So that to me is kind of giving you a heads up.
That's awesome. How'd you end up in Texas?
Well, it was an Indiana connection. You know about basketball managers, right?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so to the people listening to your podcast who may not know, so you have people who are, who may have played basketball in high school and may not have been good enough to play at IU, but yet they want to support the team. Hey, it is what it is.
Yeah.
They want to support the team.
Oh man.
And so they end up interviewing for becoming what you call a basketball manager. So
Yeah.
they learn a lot of the trades as a coach, right?
Yep.
And some managers actually practice.
Yeah.
There were several times we were down number wide because of injuries, and you had guys, who would practice with us. And I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna say this as a tout. I don't know who has more head coaches in the NBA or college that were former basketball managers.
No doubt.
Than we do.
Yeah.
Or executives.
Yeah. That's
We
interesting.
have actually a guy who is in charge of the selection committee.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's
Okay.
an IU basketball manager.
Interesting.
I think his name is LJ Wright.
Okay. I've heard that.
Okay.
I've heard that before. Yeah.
He oversees that, right?
Yeah.
You got guys who are coaching at the D1 level. Elon, you got Mike Schrage. He came out my year. Dusty May coaches at Florida Atlantic.
Okay.
And these guys have been Dusty coached with Mike Davis at
Nice.
UAB. Schrage coached at Duke for Coach K.
Nice.
Coached at Stanford. So you got guys. You got Mike Lewis. I mean, you might play,
Yeah.
but we got a lot of guys out here doing some great, amazing things to keep this IU thing going.
I agree. Yeah, I love too the manager because and the way you're telling that and just what you're involved in too because as a assistant principal, so many kids want to go to the NBA. At that middle school level, that's kind of your mindset.
Yeah.
But there are so many ways to be involved in the game of basketball that are off the court too, where you still stay tied to it. And on top of that, even if you do end up playing as a pro or in D1 like you did, there's a whole lifetime after your playing career where if you still want to be involved in the game, you need to know about those avenues. So I think that's great that you're highlighting that.
But again, it comes back to what I deserve, entitlement. It's a redaction, man. You think you have to even the way I teach basketball. Like this is a way I teach basketball.
Yeah.
Just like this. Right here in my office, we're going over film, we're going over basketball, we're going over concepts, and I'm always hearing players say, man, I never would even have imagined I'll be learning basketball this way. I'm like, well, that's the thing about it. And I'm trying to give you something that I didn't realize. And it's not necessarily vicarious living. There's so many ways to improve in this game where I don't need to be on that court.
Right. Yeah, there's just so many aspects to it.
There's
The
so
mental
many
part
avenues,
of
and
it.
there's so many avenues to do it exactly as you said if you want to be a part of the game and keep the game going.
No doubt.
Right?
No doubt.
And to make the game better, you can influence the game. You can influence the game in so many different ways, but we want to be the one. You know how that goes, man.
I know.
No
No doubt. Everybody has that moment where they're like,
Yeah.
they hit a bunch of
Yeah.
shots and they're like, oh man.
Yep.
Oh,
I get it.
man. Well, I so appreciate your time today, and you're welcome to come back anytime, talk hoops with us. One of the things that we love is just, and that I've loved being a part of the podcast, is just like getting tapped back into the basketball culture. It's such a fraternity. The people who are hoop heads just love talking basketball, and Just love being a part of it. But before we wrap up, I've got some quick hitters for you, some IU quick hitters. So first one is coolest arena you played in besides Assembly Hall.
The coolest arena, I would have to say Chicago Stadium.
Oh, nice. Did you play in the old Chicago Stadium?
That's why I said Chicago Stadium.
Wow, great. That's a great answer.
What do they call it now?
Yeah, the United Center.
This was actually the first season of the Big Ten tournament.
Oh, wow. Crazy. That's right.
Because you got to remember, there was no Big Ten tournament.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So I think this was our junior year.
Yeah. That would have been that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember catching a lob from AJ Guyton, almost a half court lob. Threw it up.
Yes.
Yeah, so like pretty cool hanging on those rims, man. That MJ.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, man.
That's great.
Chicago Stadium.
That's great. Okay, craziest opposing fans.
Penn State, and when listen, Penn State had like a hyper type gym.
Yeah, and it was small. Yeah,
and it was like, and they were right there.
Wow. Okay, I like it. That's off the board.
Penn State, my freshman year, when you played in like a hyper, and no disrespect to Penn State, I don't know the stadium now, but like, the students are like right there on you. Fans are right there on you.
Yeah, that's a good thing at Duke. They tout that all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, team the Hoosiers least like to play while you were there.
Least like to play while I was there. That's a good question. Who did I least like to play?
Might have been depending on who you had to guard too.
Well, I wasn't thinking that way. And I'm sorry, man.
No, it's all right.
I wasn't, and I'm glad I didn't. Now I can tell you a game that didn't end too well. That kind of
Okay.
I can tell you a game we were up by 15 and lost by 15.
Okay.
That was against Wisconsin at home.
Oh.
And this is my junior year, and I was having a really good Big Ten outing. And great story behind it, too. It was one of those games where I didn't understand it. I kind of was entitled. I was feeling myself a little bit.
Yeah.
And Coach Knight was taking me in and out. We were doing the substitution thing. And then 15-point lead ended up being lost by like 15. And after the game, Coach Knight said something to me, and I said, "Man, I'm not a robot. I need to play."
Oh boy.
And
good like those words.
It was a lot of this ducking, not because of swinging.
Yeah.
But because he was just livid.
Yeah.
And I guess I was selfish, and it was a lot of videotapes being kind of talked.
I'm sure as a grown man, you can understand. As a coach too, you can imagine.
I get it now. Yeah. But
it's so hard as a young. It's so hard.
I'm over averaging like 14, 16 in Big Ten. In the here's the Charlie Miller y'all always wanted to see.
Yep.
And I'm rolling. Now you take me out of the game, man. I can't play this way, coach.
Yeah.
What? You selfish. And I'm like, selfish. And I'm like, man, I'm the last person to be selfish. We were going back and forth. And then one of the coaches, I'm not gonna put him out there. He said, man, Charlie, man, I appreciate your honesty, man, but not now. Because it was like one of those Wednesday night games we played.
Yes.
Real late. Man, I appreciate it, but not now, man. I'm trying to go home. So I had to watch the whole game over and dictate with a voice recorder. What I was doing, what I didn't do, how I missed my blockouts, how I missed my cuts, how I missed my deep assignment. I shared all because you want to know the genius in that guy. That's that guy.
Yeah,
that's who you played for. You know what I mean? It is what it is.
That's how it gets in your DNA, and you don't think about it in the moment, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you just think about that stuff now, right?
Yeah.
But that's how, and who knows why I did that, and whatever. I mean, to me, it's laughable now.
Yeah.
I mean, at the time, it wasn't.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, it's tough. You forget too how young these guys are sometimes. I think that people, especially you came in as like you didn't reclassify. or anything like that.
Take yourself back when you were 18 and 19.
Oh man. Yeah. Forget about it.
You know.
That's part of the reason I was done. I mean, I could have played at a smaller college, but I went to some like college practices and just saw how hard those guys worked. And there's whole part of just enjoying college and being young, and you have to do all that plus all the basketball stuff. And I think people really miss out on like how dedicated you have to be to achieve at that level. At the Big Ten level is just it's a full-time job.
That's why mentality is important. That's why, again, I joke, but this is a good story here. This player now is a sophomore, having a good run in high school. Who knows what he's going to do college-wise, if he's going to be able to play? But
yeah.
He cried for days when his mom was like, "What does it take to make it?" And I ran off about 25 things. Getting up at 5 a.m,
yeah,
missing birthdays,
yep,
missing funerals,
yeah,
missing this, missing that, not going here, be in the gym by yourself. And he was just like,
whoa,
I gotta do all that.
Yeah.
Hey man, you want the real? Like, it's one thing to see what we do on this court. It's
right.
What you don't see. It's the unseen hours, man.
Yeah. Yeah. The pretty stuff's on the court. The sweat and blood and tears. That's all the practice when the cameras aren't on.
Yeah.
No doubt. All right. I got two more for you. Most impressive opponent. So a specific player who impressed you playing against him.
Most impressive. Well, I played against I had to guard Ray Allen. I had to guard Michael Finley. I had to guard Sean Vesper. Michael Redd. You even had to guard Brad Miller. Here is a 7-foot guy who seemed to got taller after college. I didn't get that.
Yeah.
Chad Austin.
Man.
Was tough. Kunzel Martin.
God. So you could basically say the 90s All-American team.
Yeah, and I guarded the best scorers.
Yeah.
So best players may not be the best scorer. I guarded the best scorers.
Right.
And that was a rude awakening my sophomore year guarding against Ray Allen. He's getting triple screens and pushing, holding. I'm trying to stay with him and up and under, just getting little fouls and can't touch him. Hey, that was a learning lesson in itself. So I would say I can't just go with one. I had to go all those guys because
I like it. That's all right. That's all right. You said Ray Allen. He's one of my favorites. So you're good as long as you worked his name in.
Yeah, Pete Lasicki, who played at Penn State, who can really shoot the ball.
Okay.
You had to really disrupt his timing.
I like that.
Yeah. So.
All right. One word to describe Big Ten basketball the second half of the 90s when you played.
One word. Tough.
I love it. I think that's awesome. Do you think that it's too tough now? There was some talk after a lot of the teams got bounced this year that maybe the style of the Big Ten play needs to change again to evolve. Do you see that as a coach?
Well, I mean, that's always been the theme. You're playing a physical league. And a lot of other teams, like on the East Coast, it's always been more of a finesse. I don't know why, right? But then, okay, you get in a tournament, they play against teams who play 5 out, and they lost. I think that came down to this postseason, to a lack of games to play preseason against those teams. So preparation,
that's interesting,
to me, was like non-existent.
Yeah.
I mean, we can go on film all day,
right,
and look at somebody, break somebody down, but to have several games against their opponents or against teams like a Gonzaga, we may lose, but you got a chance to play against. So now you have film footage you can go into on preparation. And then I don't know if we also put this in my last thing is really the mental breakdown that kind of happened with COVID in all these teams.
Man,
and
no doubt.
Again, being around, I don't know if we got the full throttle approach, because again, I can tell you many things, Aaron. I say it with a smiling face. I know that was not the case
Yeah, no doubt,
'Cause
no
I had to
doubt about
conceal
it. Yeah.
Right? Okay. But so who knows, right? But it is what it is.
Yeah.